Okay, good morning students. So this is P. Srinivas, Assistant Professor in Department of BIE, Indian Institute of Technology and Science. So in this subject Transducers Engineering, the previous classes we have discussed about the generalized measurement system, their concepts, terminology, functional block diagram, elements of measurement system, which are sensors or transducers, signal conditioning output device, and after that we have discussed the classification of sensors and input output configuration of measurement system and methods of corrections. So that completes the first part of unit 1. The second part of unit 2 onwards, that is in unit 3, unit 4 also, we are going to discuss about the different types of sensors and their principles, construction, and their advantages, disadvantages, and applications. In every unit, for every sensor, we are going to discuss about their principle of operation, construction, advantages and disadvantages, and various applications of those sensors. So, as per the our syllabus, in the second part, we are going to discuss about the passive sensors. So, before we are going to discuss about the passive sensors, actually, just we are going to revise the classification of the sensors. So generally the sensors are classified by using different categories. Based on the power supply requirements, the sensors are classified as active sensors and passive sensors. So basically what is the function of sensors or transducers? The sensor which converts the device which converts one form of energy into another form of energy. There are different forms of energy exist. Those are mechanical energy, chemical energy, thermal energy, some radiation energy, and some electrical energy. So these devices are used for converting one form to another form. But in our measurement system, as per our instrumentation definition, the transducer is a device which converts a non-electrical quantity into electrical quantity. The sensor which senses the non-electrical quantity and convert into some electrical quantity, which will be measured by using some other conversion element. So there are different classifications based on power requirement. First we will see here as per our syllabus. Based on power requirement, sensors can be classified as active sensors and passive sensors. Active sensors are the sensors which do not require any external source, any external power for their functioning. Their functioning means converting from one form to another form or from non-electrical to electrical form. So generally, in order to do some function, in order to perform some work, as a human being, we require some energy. In a similar way, the sensor, the device also requires some energy. But there are some sensors that do not require any external source of energy, external power source. Those sensors are called as active sensors. These are active sensors, those which which do not require external power source for their functioning. But how it converts without need of external source? Generally, these active sensors observe the energy from the measurand itself for their functioning. In order to perform their function, it requires some energy, but it will not take that energy from the externally. It takes the energy from it observes the energy from the measurand itself. Measurand is nothing but it is the quantity being measured. It is the quantity being measured. So that's why these sensors are also called as self-generating sensors. They can generate their energy selfly. That's why they are called as self-generating sensors. The other names for this one are also energy conversion sensors or energy conversion devices. There are other classification. The sensors which requires external source of energy for their functioning are called passive sensors. The sensors which requires external source of energy for their functionings are called as passive sensors. Since they require external energy and they are going to control that energy in order to convert into another form, they are also called as energy controlling sensors, energy controlling devices. Previously active is nothing but energy conversion, this is energy controlling, and also called as externally powered, externally powered sensors. So this is a actual classification which we have already discussed in the first part of the syllabus. So the remaining other classification also there, depending upon the output form, depending upon the deflection. They may classify into analog, digital sensors, and depending upon the deflection, they are called null type, deflection type. Depending upon the stage, they are classified as primary sensors and secondary sensors. So like that we have discussed different classification, but in this second part of this syllabus, we have to concentrate more on this particular only passive sensors, which requires external source of energy for their functioning. So again, in this second part, these three subtopics we have to discuss. Those are resistive sensors, capacitive sensors, and inductive sensors. So these three comes under passive sensors. Okay. So again we will discuss these three subtopics. First, we will see, before we will discuss about all these different types of sensors, first we will see the principle of operation of resistive transducers to sensors. Resistive transducers are the devices or the transducers that convert physical quantities into variable resistance, which is easily measured by the meters or output devices. Resistive transducers are the transducers which converts any physical quantity into variable resistance, that is change in resistance. Simply convert maybe length or maybe displacement, maybe temperature into some change in resistance. So those sensors are called as resistive sensors. In a similar way, the sensors which converts a physical quantity into variable capacitance are called capacitive transducers or variable capacitance transducers. Similarly, the transducers that converts any physical quantity into variable inductance, those are called as inductive transducers or variable inductance transducers. So depending upon how they are going to convert from physical quantity into electrical quantity, they are classified. That is nothing but depending upon the transduction principle. Depending upon the transduction means how they are going to convert into another form. They are classified as resistive, capacitive, inductive. If they are going to convert a physical quantity into resistance, they are called as variable resistance or resistive transducer. If they convert quantity into variable capacitance, they are called as capacitive. Into inductance, they are called as variable inductance or inductive transducers. So first, we will see the basic principle of what is meant by resistive transducers and their principle. After that, we will go for the different types of resistive sensors. So these resistive transducers are used for measurement of so many physical quantities like displacement, temperature, pressure, force, vibration, strain, etc. So different passive sensors to be discussed as per our syllabus. Those are potentiometers, strain gauges, resistance temperature detectors, or they are also called as resistance thermometer devices, thermistors, LDRs, light dependent resistors, and resistive hygrometers. So first we will have a small glance about the principle of all resistive transducers. Commonly, the resistive transducers works on the principle that the resistance of any conducting material is directly proportional to the resistivity of the conductor, length of the conductor, and inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area of the conductor. Or in other words, you can say that the basic principle of resistive transducers is based on a familiar equation, which is a resistance of a conductor given by R equal to rho L by A. R equal to rho L by A, where R is the resistance of the conductor, rho is the resistivity of the conductor, L is the length of the conductor, and also A is the cross sectional area of the conductor. So if you observe, this may be a conductor or a metal, so which is having some length L, this is the length L. It is having the resistivity, that is depending upon the property of materials, depending upon the number of electrons and protons, that is resistivity. And this is nothing but cross sectional area A, 3 pi by 4 d square, it is d is the diameter. So the resistance of this conductor is given as rho into L by A. So from this equation we can conclude that resistance of any metal conductor is depending upon the three parameters, that is its resistivity, its length of the conductor, and cross sectional area of the conductor. So if you observe this equation again, the resistance of the conductor can be varied by varying any one of these three parameters. That means either by changing the length of the conductor, or either by changing the cross sectional area of the conductor, or either by changing the resistivity of the conductor, the resistance can be varied. If you are having any mechanism to find out the change in resistance, then you can find out amount of physical quantity which changes this resistance. Amount of length or amount of cross section area, we can know that in turn measures the physical quantity being measured. So that is the basic principle of resistive transducer, which is nothing but R equal to rho L by A. That means R can be varied by changing the length, or by changing the area, or by changing the resistivity, or sometimes or by changing all these three parameters. So if you are able to change the length of the conductor by some means, by some pressure or by some displacement or some by force, if the length is changed, resistance will change. If you are able to measure the resistance, or if you are able to convert the resistance into some other electrical parameter, and if you are able to measure what is the amount of change in resistance or what is the amount of change in voltage, then you can find out the physical quantity being measured. So the change in resistance is here depending upon the change in length. So the change in length may be depending upon some application of displacement or some pressure or force. So like that we can measure some quantities, unknown quantities. So that is the basic principle generally for all the resistive transducers. Now we will see the different sensors which we are going to discuss as per our syllabus. Their glance their overall principle, then we will go for in detail. So the first device we are going to discuss is potentiometer. In this potentiometer, the resistance of the wire varies with variation in the lengths, which is used for measurement of displacement. That means the potentiometers can be used for measurement of displacement. Here the resistance of these potentiometers can be varied by changing the length of the conducting wire. The length of the conducting wire can be changed by applying some displacement, pressure or force. So that is the basic principle. So R equal to rho L by A. In this, the resistance can be varied by changing the L. The remaining rho and A are constants. Therefore R is proportional to the length. So that is the basic principle. The potentiometers can be used for measurement of displacement by measuring the change in resistance to change in length of the conducting wire. So that is the basic principle of potentiometer. And strain gauges, when you take any conducting material, just assume that this is a conducting material or a metal, and if you are applying some strain, what is nothing but strain? Strain is nothing but change in length per unit length. Just assume that this is a conductor which is having some length L, cross sectional area A, and is having some resistivity. If you are applying some compression force, what happens generally for metals, the length of the conductor is decreases, whereas the cross section area will increases. Laterally it will their structure, their diameter will increase, and longitudinally the length can be decreased. Or if you are applying some elongation force, what happens? The length of the conductor increases and diameter, that is cross section area wise, decreases. That means since the resistance is proportional to the length of the conductor, resistance is proportional to the length of the conductor and inversely proportional to the cross section area. Then when you are applying some elongation force, elongation means like this, the length can be increased so that the resistance is increased, which is also inversely proportional to the area. So as the area is also decreasing, that is resistance increases. Whereas if you are applying some compression force, the length can decrease, which can decreases the resistance also. And by using this principle, that means here also the main principle is R equal to rho L by A. So here in this case, both the length as well as diameter, sometimes resistivity also changes. That is called a piezoresistive effect. That we will discuss in detail. And next, resistance thermometer and thermistors. There are some materials. Generally, throughout the world, the materials are classified into three types: conductors or metals, semiconductors, and insulators. So forget about insulators, which are nothing but which do not allow the passage of electric current through it, whereas conductors or semiconductors, they allow the passage of current through it. So generally, for most of the metals, as the temperature of the metal increases or changes, the resistance also changes. So that means for most of the metals, as the temperature of that particular metal increases, resistance also increases. That is in proportional. As the temperature of the material increases, resistance also increases. So if you are able to measure the change in resistance, initially we know what is the resistance of the material at normal temperature. As the temperature increases, the resistance also increases. If you are able to find out what is the resistance change, so that resistance, if you are able to measure, we can find out the amount of change in temperature. So for the metals, that is positively changed. That is nothing but positive temperature coefficient of resistance. What is that? Positive temperature coefficient of resistance. That means as the temperature increases, resistance also increases. As the temperature increases, resistance also increases in a positive manner. That's why it is called as positive temperature coefficient of resistance. So generally the RTDs are having this positive temperature coefficient of resistance property. So as the temperature increases, resistance also increases. As the temperature decreases, resistance also decreases. So if you are able to measure the resistance, we can find out what is the amount of temperature. So those are called as RTDs. The other one is thermistors. Most of the semiconductors are some metallic oxides. As the temperature increases, the resistance decreases. That is inversely proportional. So this property is called as negative temperature coefficient of resistance. For most of the semiconductors and metallic oxides or metal oxides, as the temperature increases, the resistance of the material decreases. As the temperature decreases, the resistance will decreases. So if you are able to measure the temperature resistance, we can assess what is the amount of temperature change. So like that, these RTDs and thermistors can be used for measurement of temperature. Next, a light dependent resistor. So this is works on the principle of photoconductivity. So if you take this, say a photoconductor or a metal a device, as a light intensity, a light falling on this particular material, that means the light intensity changes, the resistance also changes. As the amount of light falling on the material changes, the resistance of the metal also changes. So that is called a photoconductivity. When the intensity of light decreases, the resistance value decreases. So that we will discuss. Okay. And next, resistive hygrometer. So generally the hygrometers are nothing but the devices which can be used for measurement of humidity or moisture. What is humidity? It is nothing but amount of water vapor present in air. Amount of water vapor present in air. So as a material absorbs some humidity or moisture, the resistance of the material also changes. So by using that principle, the resistive hygrometers can be used for measurement of humidity. Now the first topic in this resistive transducers or resistive sensors, that is potentiometers. So generally the potentiometers are simply called as pot, POT pot. A potentiometer consisting of a resistive element or resistance element provided with a sliding contact. I will show that now. The sliding contact is called a wiper. The motion of the sliding contact may be linear or rotational. Sometimes some potentiometer may use the combination of both. Linear is nothing but this one, it's called linear, or this is called as linear. Translatory, whereas rotatory means some orbit like this, that is called rotatory. And some devices or some potentiometer may use a combination of linear as well as angular like this. This is called as helical. So those potentiometer called as helipods, that is called as helipods. Simply the potentiometer consisting of a resistance element provided with a wiper. So the position of wiper, the sliding contact may be translatory, that is called a linear, or rotational, or it is also called as angular. Okay. So generally these potentiometers are called as passive sensors. Why? Because it requires an external source for its operation. We will discuss how it is depending upon the external power. If it is, if you are not giving the external power, what happens we will see. Okay. So the resistance element of the potentiometers are wire wound, but some other commonly used materials are cermet. Cermet is nothing but combination of two materials, that is ceramic and metals, and hot molded carbon, carbon film, and thin metal films. That means the materials used for the construction of potentiometers are ceramic, ceramic metals, hot molded carbon. We can take the carbon, we can mold with some heat. So that hot molded carbon, we are going to mold that into some linear position or rotational position. So that forms a resistance element. Or we can use some other films, carbon film. On a particular material, we are going to put some, take a film. We can coat a film, that is carbon coat film, and thin metal films. So those are some materials used for construction of potentiometer. So generally, what is the function of, what is the principle of potentiometers? It converts linear, that is translatory, or rotatory, that is nothing but angular motion, into some voltage signal. That means it converts some physical quantity into electrical signal. It converts a linear displacement or linear motion into electrical signal, or rotatory motion into electrical signal. It operates on the principle of voltage division rule, and also it all depends upon the principle of change of resistance of wire with its length. Principle of change of resistance of the wire with its length. So these are the basic principles. Now we will see, generally there are two types of potentiometers. Those are linear potentiometers, which converts a linear displacement into electrical signal. Rotatory potentiometers, which converts angular or rotatory displacement into electrical signal. So this is the construction of potentiometer. As if you observe the figure, it consisting of a mandrel on which some conducting or resistance element is wounded like this, and it is provided with a sliding contact, it is called a wiper contact. The two ends of the resistance material, resistive wires, are supplied with some electrical supply, electrical voltage, that may be AC voltage or DC voltage, and we can take some output voltage between one end of the resistive element and wiper element, one terminal of the wiper. Just we will see what is the construction. So this may be a construction of rotational. The principle of operation of rotational as well as linear, both are same, but there is small difference in construction only. So it consisting of a circular insulator or mandrel on which a resistance wire is one. This is called a resistance material, on which, and we are provided with A and C is the two terminals of the resistive elements. For that A and C we are providing the power supply input voltage, and this is the wiper contact. For the wiper contact, we are between these two we are taking the output voltage. So now, before going to discuss about the principle, I would like to explain about once again construction. It consisting of a mandrel. mandrel is nothing but this one. That maybe you can call it as insulator. Say assume that if you observe this diagram, this element, just assume that this is maybe a insulator. It's nothing but which do not allow the passage of current. So take this as an insulator, or this is called as mandrel, on which this you can assume that this is a resistance wire. This is wounded like this. So this is nothing but potentiometer. The potentiometer consisting of a mandrel or insulator on which this resistive element is wounded like this. So, and it is provided with some wiper contact. This is nothing but wiper contact. This is nothing but a wiper. It is also some conducting element, and these two ends of this particular resistive elements, these two, this one and this one, these are supplied with electrical DC voltage or AC voltage, and between this wiper contact and this terminal we are taking the output voltage. So this wiper can change the length of the wire. So actually what is the length of the wire? This is the complete length of the wire. Say assume that this is 20 centimeters. So the length of the wire is 20 centimeter for the input terminals. If you are applying some VI between these terminals, and resistance is having some 20 centimeters length. Maybe that is having some resistance. I will discuss later. That may be 20 kilo ohms, 100 kilo ohms. So the length of the resistance element is 20 kilo ohms. And if you are taking the output part, I am taking the output between this element, this hand, and this one. So as this wiper, assume that this is a wiper, it is moving like this. The length of the conductor is changing. The length of the resistance wire is changed. So initially that is 0 position, maybe 1 centimeter, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that up to 20 centimeters. That means the wiper changes the length of the wire. So as we know the principle, R equal to rho L by A. As the length is changing, the resistance. So here the length is this one. What is the resistance? That is only the length is only 1 centimeter. Rho that is already given. Maybe it is having some resistivity. Cross section area is same. So length is very less. The resistance is very less for this case. As it is moving like this, as the displacement to be measured is coupled to this wiper, and the displacement to be measured. For example, I want to measure some object. For example, this is the object. I want to measure the displacement of this object. This is coupled to this particular wiper. As it is moving, the wiper is also moves. As it is moving, the wiper also moves. In turn, this wiper changes the length of the wire. As the length of the wire changes, depending upon the equation R equal to rho L by A, the resistance also changes. So like this potentiometer can convert the linear motion or linear displacement into electrical signal. But here it is also using some another principle called as voltage division rule. So now we will see the principle of operation of linear potentiometer. Just assume that this is a resistance, complete resistance. This one, resistance of the potentiometer Rp. The total resistance of the potentiometer is Rp. Just assume that is a 20 kilo ohms. Assume, for example, this may be, that is the resistance may be 20 kilo ohms, and the length of this one is xt. The total length of this one is xt. From this point to this point, that is xt. Say assume that is 20 centimeter అనుకోండి ఇక్కడ, and xi, it is the displacement of the wiper from its zero position. ఇక్కడ నుంచి maybe it is like this. This is called as xi. As the displacement changes, xi also changes. Now we will see. I have applied an input voltage between the two elements, that is V. So now if you observe, this is a without a wiper, this is a single resistance. So what happens? Whatever the amount of voltage we are applied, that V is, because of that voltage some current is flowing to the resistance. Because of the IR, some voltage is developed across the output. Now what I am taking the output across this two terminals, wiper and this one. That means in this case I can say that this is one resistance, this is one resistance. For example, the displacement of the wiper is from this position to this position, maybe some 10 centimeters. 20 centimeters is the length. So what is the resistance of this one? So generally here we have to go for some assumption that the resistance of the potentiometer is uniformly distributed throughout its length. This is the very must condition. The resistance of this potentiometer is uniformly distributed throughout its length. That means, for example, it is having 20 centimeters length and it is having 20 kilo ohms resistance anukunte. For each centimeter is having 1 kilo ohms. Here 1 kilo ohm, 2 kilo ohm, 3, 4 like up to 20 kilo ohm. That is uniform distribution. If it is non-uniform, it may have 10 kilo ohms up to this one. This part we may have another 10 kilo ohms. Maybe here you are having, sometimes you may have some only 1 kilo ohm up to this part 1 kilo ohm and the remaining 19 here. That is called non-uniform distribution. You don't know what is the resistance exactly. But for our linear potentiometer operation, we have to assume that the resistance of the potentiometer is uniformly distributed throughout its length. Now, assume that is the length of the conductor is, the potentiometer is xt. The moment of displacement of the wiper from its zero position is xi. So what is this resistance actually now? Say, go for again previous example, 20 kilo ohms resistance, 20 centimeter. The wiper position is some 5 centimeters. What is the resistance? Just simply you can say that 5 kilo ohms. That means this 5 centimeters divided by 20 centimeters into 20 kilo ohms. That gives the 5 kilo ohms. If it is some 15 centimeters, that gives absolutely 15k. That means it is xt. This one is xi. The resistance at this terminal is xi by xt into this resistance rp. Now we have applied an input voltage to these terminals and we are taking the output voltage between these two terminals. So what is the resistance? This one. What is the output voltage? The output voltage here is nothing but the voltage drop across this particular part, this resistance. What is the resistance? Amount of voltage developed, so that can be found by using voltage division rule. Just assume that this is a resistance R1 and this is resistance R2. How both are connected? These two resistors are connected in series. That is R1 is in series with R2. So what is the voltage across the resistance R1? Generally in your network analysis you have discussed. That is the voltage across the resistance R1 is nothing but the input voltage Vi into R1 divided by R1 plus R2, total resistance, divided by total resistance. V into R1 divided by R1 plus R2. Here what is the total resistance? Total resistance is Rp, and this resistance is nothing but, what is the resistance? Rp into xi by xt. Just now we discussed. This is uniform distributed cavity. This resistance is nothing but Rp into xi by xt. So the output voltage is nothing but the voltage across Rp into xi by xt. Therefore that is nothing but Rp into xi by xt into voltage V divided by total resistance Rp. That is the output voltage. V0 is nothing but Rp into xi by xt, this resistance, divided by total resistance Rp into voltage V. So with this I am going to conclude. I will explain in detail in the next class. So just if you observe again equation, V0 equal to Rp by Rp, both R will be cancelled. So V0 equal to xi by xt into V. If you observe the equation, the output voltage V0 is depending upon this displacement xi. Why? The xt is constant. Whatever the amount of voltage we applied, V is constant. So that output voltage changing because of this xi position. That is the position of wiper. That means the output voltage depending upon the wiper position, which is depending upon the displacement applied. So like this, these linear potentiometers can be used for measurement of linear displacement. We will discuss actually how V0, we can say that simply V0 is proportional to xi. Therefore the output is linearly proportional to the input displacement. Okay, that we are going to discuss in our Zoom regular class. I will discuss actually what is the equation, how we are having the linear relation, and this linear may convert into some non-linearity by using some meter. So how that we will discuss in the class or in the next recording video. Okay, so with this I am going to conclude.